Welcome everybody to the Chess Lab. Welcome to How to Reassess Your Chess, episode 12. In this episode, we are gonna take it back from part 3, rooks, files, and all that good stuff. And we're gonna do the puzzles. So let's start. So this is about level 1600, 1800, as you can see. And let's see. So let's evaluate the position, as usual. 3, 3, 1, 3, 3, 1. So pawns are equal. Knights, okay, materials equal. Pawn structure. Pawn structure is not symmetrical. There are two semi-open files, the D file and the C4. Sorry, the C file. C4 is a square. Okay. And so there's that. We are definitely controlling the semi-open C file. What else is there to notice? Well, we have a strong knight on E4. Really strong knight. I really like that knight. And okay, what else? They have a knight on D4, which is applying some pressure over to E6 and is defending C2. So their knight is really useful. Really useful. Our knight is, though, very good looking there. What else is there to notice? The rooks. Well, when it comes to the rooks, our rooks are much better than their rooks. That's pretty clear. That's not even debatable, in my opinion. Okay, so what else? What else? The queens. Their queen is on D3 and is pretty exposed. I don't like their queen on D3, there could be tactics. Our queen on B6, on the other hand, is having the important function of defending the E6 pawn and applying some pressure on this diagonal, which is not bad. The knight is the first defender of the C2 pawn, so I don't think that tripling up is necessarily a good function. Anyways, now, are there any immediate threats? I personally don't see immediate threats for them. When it comes to pawn breaks, they may want to break with G4, but that looks just super dangerous and not really critical. In general, I think that their position is perhaps better for us because of all this pressure that we have, right? However, the question is, how can we break through in a way, right? So let's try to look at this position. So let's look at checks, captures, attacks, because this feels pretty forcing in a way. I know there are no threats, but we have to try to win a pawn here, maybe, and infiltrate in general. So I'd say we look at things a little bit forcing. So the first move that comes to mind is rook c3, even though I should consider first rook takes c2 check. Rook takes c2, they have to take, and then I play rook takes c2 check, they take. Then I play queen takes e3, but I don't see a clear continuation, quite frankly, here. Check, for example, I have to move. Check is quite bad. So, you know, I don't think that rook takes works, so I'm gonna focus on something else. There is rook here, for example, that is also an interesting move. Rook takes, pawn takes, let's say, rook to c3. But okay, the queen can just move back while keeping everything protected. And it's not clear how I continue. If I play a move like queen c7, they can also play just rook c1, for example, just an example. Rook takes, queen takes, there is check. They just moved back. And it's not clear again how to continue. So taking here, I don't think it works. Rook c3. Rook c3 is the critical move. Rook c3 hits the queen. The queen is trapped, almost. And the queen has two squares. However, if the queen goes here, then rook takes e3 follows. And this seems pretty bad, quite frankly, for them. Because the whole position collapses all of a sudden. At least it feels like that. So rook here leaves queen to e2. Okay? And this move's interesting because if we could take here, we will win. So I wonder, is there a way to remove the knight? Well, we could play queen takes d4. They have to take. And then we can play rook takes c2. The problem is they just take, check, and we are left down an exchange. They move here, let's say. And it's not clear to me how this advantages us. So rook here, queen here, we have to find something better than queen check. Perhaps rook takes now. The knight takes. But again, I don't see it. I don't see it. So rook here. The queen moves here. Rook takes doesn't work in my opinion, because after you take, you check. There is knight takes, and the knight defends the queen. So there's that. So this is the first idea, right? To infiltrate on c3. However, I have another idea. You see, in this position, when we did the evaluation of the position, we stated that this knight is defending c2. He's an important defender. And this knight looks extremely active, it looks extremely good. On the other hand, it's not clear what exactly he's doing. So, my question is, what if we move this knight to a place where we force the trade of this knight? For example, I'm thinking about the move knight to c3. I'll be very honest with you. Originally, I thought knight d6, knight to b5 to trade the knight. The problem is after knight to d6, there is knight takes e6. And I'll be very honest, rook takes looks very scary, but now they can even block like this. But we can take, check, and picks up this guy. So after knight here, rook check, they cannot really block with the rook, but they can again just go here. But then we can go here, I guess. But they can take like this. Yeah, visualization is difficult. And now they're threatening discoveries with the knight and it's over. Damn, visualization is difficult. But then we can check them. Holy shit. But they just move here. And they could have gone here immediately. Okay, so I don't think it works. I don't think that going here works. But it's tempting. So I think that much better idea is to reach, yes, b5 to trade this guy. But doing it like via c3. Via c3. And knight c3, I think, is a good idea. If they play a4 to prevent knight c3, of course b4 is weak, and I can always take it with the rook perhaps. Or maybe I can play this very evilish move to just go back, saying b4 is weak, but I'll probably just take with the rook. Yeah, the position feels a little bit loose, but on the other hand, this is hanging, they may play this, I just move here, no problem. Everything's under control. So again, my candidate moves were rook to c3 and knight to c3. I'm trying to think about other things to do, but there is e5, which attacks the knight, but f takes e5, and I don't really see... Well, there is this idea that now you switch over to this side, and we saw that there are some tactics, but I'll be honest, I don't see it. There is also this idea to perhaps go here and take here, but they can just play h3, for example. And again, all the tactics that we saw previously involves the knight on e4. So I think knight c3 is the move here. I'm gonna play it. I have a feeling knight c3 is wrong, because it feels that a puzzle like this really revolves around rook c3. It really feels like rook here, perhaps rook c4 even. You know, rook c4 looks so strong. Yeah, there's also that possibility. I'm gonna go with knight c3. It's correct. Wow. Wow. I found knight c3. Wow. Now, if we go back to attack the rook, they just go back. So, and now they're defending this, so all these tactics, I don't think they work. So I think that going to b5 is the most accurate thing to do. I'm just gonna go. Okay, they take. Now, how do we take back? This is a great question, and it's not so obvious to answer this, actually. I think I want to take with a pawn. The reason I want to take with a pawn is because I like the pressure of the queen against e3, and if we take with a pawn, we are threatening rook to c3 that wins this pawn here, which is very important pawn. If we take with a queen, it's not clear what we are threatening. Perhaps we are threatening rook takes c2 if we take with a queen, but queen here, rook here, whereas pawn here, rook here, rook here wins this pawn. So I'm gonna go with the pawn. It says alternative, then I'm gonna go with the queen. Okay, so I guess it wasn't important. Solved. This was solved. I'm very happy. I'm very satisfied. Let me check if you guys can see everything correctly though, because I'm a little bit concerned. Yes, you guys can see everything correctly. Okay. Sorry for that, but I had to check. Okay, so knight c3. That's it. Black intends to follow with knight to b5, exchanging white's defensive horse. In a sense, you can say that knight c3 attacks c2. Yes. Rook f2, knight b5, takes, and white is in serious trouble. The rest of the game, though far from perfect, ended up with the right side winning. Very nice. So now let's look at this game. Elder Friedrich against Osmer Henry. So f45. This is some bird shenanigan, believe it or not. The bird can be very annoying. You're not supposed to allow c4 though, I think. But I don't know what I'm talking about, so it's fine. So many moves happen, as you can see. Yeah, white almost got an attack, but not really. And here we are. So black's domination of the c-file and pressure against c2 is obvious. The problem is that white's knight is firmly guarding the pawn, nullifying the rook's efforts. Since your target is c2, and since his knight is defending that point while your knight isn't doing anything at all about it, the correct plan should be easy to find. This is what he's saying here is very important, like, my pieces are working towards this pawn, adding the queen does nothing, but this knight is doing nothing for it, so yeah. because he said that all the pieces should work together towards the same plan. Explaining the rating spread. This is a problem that is solved by pure verbalization. You see your target, you see the defender, and you ask how you can get rid of that piece of glue that's holding its position together. I thought a 1400 might be looking for an aggressive way to break through and thus miss the idea of playing for a simple exchange. But I hope I'm wrong and that every reader 1400 on up found it easy. Yeah. So knight c3, that's it. Okay, rook to a2 was played, and now d4. What's the rush? A move like queen a4, which threatens rook takes b4. Oh, very nice. Would keep white bound and helpless, and he's also threatening rook c3. So that's nice. Yeah, queen a4, of course. But d4 he was trying to rush. E takes, queen check. I think he missed queen f3. Because if you just move your king, rook takes d4 is annoying. I mean, there is also queen b3 then, but okay. Takes, takes, takes. King here, check, check. Yeah, that's a little bit of a crazy, whoa. This is a little bit of a crazy game. Yeah, if they take, you take, and it's over. Okay, interesting. So I'm happy I solved that puzzle, because it wasn't so easy. I know it says the rating is the rating that it is, but for me it was difficult. Level 1400, 1600. Is queen b3, rook d1, or g3 correct? I think it's rook d1, because if you don't play rook d1, they're gonna play queen to d6, for example, and they're gonna get control over the open file. Now you're probably thinking, but can't you play queen b3, and after they move the king, you play rook d1? The problem is, if you play queen b3, they don't just move the king, they play queen d5. Now, in this position here, queen d5 is actually insane, because here there is rook d1. That's crazy. And they cannot take you because there is this. So let's assume queen b3, queen d5, rook d1, queen takes, rook takes with check, the king moves, and then you take back and you're winning. So queen b3, queen d5, rook here, they may have to play c4. But then you take, they take you, you take with check, they move, and then you take back, and you're winning again. Or even better, you check, they move, and then you take here, defending the pawn, so if they take, you take back. Maybe changes nothing. But in general, queen b3, I guess, can be played, I guess, which is quite wild. It's quite wild. Queen b3, they move the king, and only then you play rook d1. Is there any difference? I wonder. Well, there is a difference, there is a difference. Queen here, king here, let's say, just an example, rook here. You can actually play rook to d3 here. Wow! Rook to d3. You know, and if you take, you know, queen here or something. Whereas if you play rook d1, they cannot play rook d3, because you take. So I think rook d1 is correct. I could be crazy, let's see. It's correct. It's the first time that I think I solved 2 puzzles in a row, and I feel like I'm being a little bit more concrete than usual. So I'm kinda implementing evaluation with calculation. Also, the rooks are my favorite piece, so I love calculating with the rooks. I think it's easier to calculate with the rooks. So, Okay, again, there is the question, rook d1. The move actually played denies black his dreams and equalizes the game, which eventually ended in an eventful draw. I also didn't do the evaluation in this position. It was so obvious that it was about controlling the file. And I also understood that it was about equalizing. Now g3 allows black to have his way with the file and with the d3 square. Oh yeah, they can also play rook d3 immediately. He can grab the file forever with queen d5 or queen d6. He can clamp down on d3 with c4 followed by rook d3, or he can leap to d3 with rook d3 right away. Queen b3 sets a devious trap. Queen d5 is a blunder, exactly. However, a trick isn't any reason to play a move. And after the correct king g7, rook to d1, rook to d3. Bro, I calculated correctly. Black's latched onto d3, then rook takes d3, e takes d3, gives black a monster pass pawn. Bro, I calculated correctly. Yeah, and of course after queen d5, which is a blunder, rook d1, and the game is over, leaves white with an extra rook. Bro, I calculated everything correctly. I'm so happy. So this is trap. This guy is genuinely called trap against bugs. There are two things of note here. Black would love to claim permanent ownership of the d file, and there is a hole on d3. Two of the three moves mentioned in the problem don't address these concerns, while one does. Explaining the rating spread. You don't want to give black the d file, do you? I'm sure players in the 1400 range will find this an easy exercise. Yeah. The computer is very slow. What is going on? Why is he struggling so much? You guys can see everything correctly? It feels so. Okay. Perhaps it's about time to change this icon. One day. Okay, test 3. So let's see. Is white in a hurry? How do you see this game playing out? Click on continue to read the answer. Wow, that's crazy. So, okay, let's evaluate the position. Materials equal. There is no mirror pawn structure, you know. I don't remember how to say it, but like there is no symmetrical pawn structure. Mirror. Okay. And because there is the double e pawns for black, there is a semi-open d file. Perhaps not too easy to notice, but here it is. Is white in a hurry? You know what? Okay, I should do the proper evaluation. We have more space on pretty much all sides of the board. And but pawn breaks are tricky. Pawn breaks are tricky here. Because what's a pawn break that we have? Well, we don't really have many pawn breaks. We could play h5, but they would just shut down with g5. No, well, if we play h5, they take probably, right? But they have a pawn break, which is g5. They're threatening g5 here. They're threatening g5. And g5 closes the position down. You know, it's funny because if they play g5, we play h takes g5. I don't think they want to play h takes g5, because after king g3, I think we have an edge. Rook f2, queen d2, rook h2, and stuff. But I think that after g5, h takes g5, they take with the f pawn, and we don't have a way to break through. So because of these reasons, but maybe also h takes is fine. I'm just speculating here. Because of these reasons, I think we are in a hurry. I think white is in a hurry, and I think that white has to play f takes g6. I think white has to play f takes g6. But maybe I'm insane. Maybe I'm just an insane man. But g5 looks... g5 looks quite closing. Unless after g5 you don't take the pawn, you play king g3, and then you play rook h2, rook h1, and you open the h file. So perhaps you hope that black plays g5 and you don't touch that pawn. And if you triple, double, and all that, you will eventually open it yourself. But again, they can take with the f pawn. Oh, but then you sacrifice the bishop. So white is not in a hurry. No, white is not in a hurry. But what if they play king g2, let's say g takes f5? Well, then you play g takes f5 yourself, you move the king again, and you double, triple, quadruple on the g file. And you also have h6 under attack. So no, white is not in a hurry, and I think the best move is king g3. This is my answer, locked in. Guys, don't think he's right just because I say it. There is very high chances he's wrong. But it's my answer. Is that it sounds so weird for some reasons. Now I'm going fast here because I'm tired, I don't understand, and also it's not that important for the purpose of what we're doing. Boom. Black, who suffers from a lack of space in the center and on the king side, can't do anything but go back and forth. This means that white can take his time and build up his position in any way he sees fit. White's extra kingside space, plus the fact that his rooks, bishops and queen are all aimed in that direction, offer him excellent chances of a successful kingside attack. I hope you also notice black's g7 bishop, which has earned full tall pawn structure. Full tall pawn status. There we assign the h7 rook honorary tall pawn status too? We may. This is Oscar Panno against Guisasola E.D. Goras Gregorio, by the way. The question about how you see this game playing out might seem odd, but a trained eye will conclude that black might very well play g6, g5 at some point, leading to a well-known pawn structure. We addressed it in part 3 rooks, with very clear plans to combat it. Huge kudos if you made that connection between one pawn structure and a very possible future one. I did! Let's go! I did! Yes! Bro, I never felt so satisfied in my life. What the fuck? That's crazy. I'm so happy. I saw the connection. I saw g5 and I'm like, you don't touch it, you should do, and then you take when you're ready. That's crazy. In the game, Grandmaster Panno, a wonderful positional player, did his best cat-and-mouse imitation, torturing his opponent for a long time until he finally put the poor guy out of his misery. Explaining the rating spread. I have full confidence that the 1400 group will recognize that white isn't in any hurry at all. On the other hand, seeing the possible shift of pawn structure is very difficult, and so the spread leapt right up to master. What was the rating spread? There is no rating spread here. So rook f3. I don't know about king g3 at this point, but king f3 was played. King h8, queen f1, rook g8, rook f2 g3, g5. Here we go. Bingo! We arrive at a structure that you should be familiar with. See Fischer-Spassky or Silman-McGuire. Yeah, I remember Silman-McGuire. Rook h3, exactly. Bishop f8. Queen f3, rook g2, g7, king to g1. Here we go. The move, the king steps aside. King g8, knight to e2. Okay, perhaps he wants to reach h5. Rook h8, knight g3, queen to d1, okay, queen e8, rook to h2, bishop g7, rook to a2. What is he doing? Toying with the thematic idea of b4, wow, a takes b4, a5, that's crazy. Crashing through the queen set. He calls it thematic, but like, you will never consider b4 in your life. Bro, b4 is crazy. This is so instructive. Bro, I should read this book 10 times. I don't have time, guys. I need the Goku chamber, you know. Knight b7. You know, in Dragon Ball, that place where time doesn't pass. That's what I need. Knight h5, queen b8. Rook h3, bishop e8, knight back. Bishop here, rook a, here we go, bishop d7, king f1 to allow queen h1, I assume, queen e8, queen h1, exactly. Panno dazzles his opponent with a very mean-looking Aliekin's gun, but black's defenses hold and white has to create a more imaginative piece configuration. What happened if I click here? Okay, the previous, okay, never mind. Maybe there was some secret line about the Aliekin's gun, I don't know. Queen f7, bishop e2, bishop c8, bishop f3. Look at all these pieces nicely organized. Bishop d7, knight e2. White realizes that he will take a sacrifice to break through black's defenses, and this move is the first step in setting this up. The knight will move to d3, where it will hit e5. Then the queen will find its way to h2. His dark square bishop to c3. Okay, to target e5, right? And finally the knight will slam onto e5 and crack black open. Okay, so knight d6, knight c1, bishop c8, knight c3. Sorry, knight d3. Okay, so first step in pressuring e5 is achieved. Bishop a6, king to g3, queen g7, king f2, queen f7, queen e1. Perhaps with the idea rook h1, queen g1, queen h2, knight b8, queen c3, bishop g7, king g3. There is also the 50 move rules, guys, come on. Bishop to f8, king, rook h1. Sorry if I am misspelling the pieces, but I'm very tired and I'm just reading the letters, which is confusing. Queen f7, queen h2. Here we go, look at that. Mixing duties between pressure down the h file and strike on e5, knight d6, bishop d2 with the idea bishop c3. Black is being reminded that the queenside shredding sacrifices are still in the air. Knight b7, bishop c3, queen g7, and now king to f2. White has brilliantly surrounded his opponent and maximized all his possible breaks. His pieces are now perfectly balancing their attention on the queenside, center, and kingside. Knight to d6, and now boom. Knight takes. Look at this beautiful thing. One can almost imagine a booming sound and smoke rising lazily into the sky. F takes. Yeah, you have to play this, and now bishop takes e5. Look at that. Wow. Queen f7, h takes. And here bishop g7. If you play h takes g5, there is bishop takes h8, and if you take the rook, the queen takes back defending the bishop, and if the rook takes the bishop, rook takes, just wins straight up because it's mate on h6 next. So bishop g7 was played after h takes, but now there is this fork which attacks the queen, so if you take, I take first with check. Queen e8 was played, and now g5, wow! A great performance by Panno. And here, actually, oh, the rook is trapped. Okay, there is g takes h7 as well. Here, black resigned. This is a fantastic game and beautifully explained by Silman, and I'm happy that I managed to realize that configuration. Test 4, let's see. Level 49, 1600. So, okay, so here again is about the is about the control of the file. So here there are two moves, okay, 3, 4, so materials equal, there is no symmetrical pawn structure, there is the potential of creating an outside H pawn, so that's a weakness black may have, and of course there is an imbalance, which is the open D file. We have a better control of it, but they're threatening rook to D8 to challenging it and equalize the game with the maneuver rook D8 and rook D6 and the queen behind. On rook D8 we could play this, but then they would simply take and play something like this, and we wouldn't have a way to enter. And then they would play queen here or even here, but probably here. So if we take, they have already the king on D6, and it's not clear what we can do to prevent it. So if it was their move here, king here, king here, queen here, and it's a draw, in my opinion. Well, if we play king f1, they may even have some tactical shenanigans going on, but let's assume they don't. Let's focus on the strategy of the open file. So my first instinct is queen d3, but because of what I've seen, perhaps queen d1 is better, because it threatens rook d7, which looks really strong. So I'm gonna go with queen d1. It's correct, I'm very happy to see this, obviously. And here though, what to do, because the puzzle continues, is not over. So we managed to win control over the D file, now it's about to infiltrate. Now, how do you infiltrate? Well, ideally you want to infiltrate on the 7th. But here I have something to say. So rook d6 also comes to mind. They have to move. If they move here, that's good for us. However, rook here, there is queen here perhaps. And rook here, there is rook here, but then we have check, and then queen here. Because the thing is, if I go here immediately, I don't know why I don't like it. Like rook here, for example, check, they move, how do I keep attacking them? You know? But if I play rook d6, I'm basically saying to this queen, ooh, a little bit awkward, my lady. You gotta move somewhere that you don't want to move, right? But maybe queen a8 is just fine, but then we play rook d7, and it feels stronger. It feels like they cannot stop us from playing, like, because ideally we want to do this and queen d6 to infiltrate and to have both pieces here. So I will play rook here, but perhaps you're saying that they can go here. Maybe that's what you're saying. Yeah, but then we go here, you know? And they have to defend like this. Sorry. So I go here, they go here, let's say, I go here. They have to defend like this. And then I go here, and then they check me. I don't know if I like this. I go here, they check me again. I don't know if I like this. So do I infiltrate on the 7th? Perhaps it's just as simple as infiltration on the 7th. You know what I mean? But on the other hand, rook here looks very tempting. Rook here, queen here. Rook here. Queen here, perhaps. Yeah, perhaps. Check, we go here, check, we go here, perhaps. Okay, I'm gonna go rook d6. I have a feeling it's wrong. I have a feeling that Silman is just gonna say, you moron, it's just rook d7 infiltrating on the 7. But I'm gonna go here. Oh, maybe then I guess it's the same. Okay, it was the same. Never mind, it's probably the same. Chill out. So here I guess I can go here, no? Why do I always want to do this? Why can't I just chill? But check. They move up. And where do I go? Queen here perhaps, but then they have queen f3. But on queen f3 I have queen here, which wins the game on the spot, I guess. Yeah, and that's actually some Zugzwang situation. Here, 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 here. Actually, first here, then here again, then here, then... What if I go here? I don't know. I'm gonna check them. Alternative, okay, well then I guess I go here. Okay, they go here. Is it really like continuing this exercise here? Come on, man. Check. Now they go here and then I go here. For sure. They can... Wait. If I go here, they check me. I move up. They check me again. But then I have f3. They have to check me here. I go here. They check me here. That's bad. But if I go here, they check me. I go here, they check me. I go here, they check me. That's not good, man. Here. 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 Check back. Here, check here. I'm actually in trouble. What is going on? I can of course go back with the queen, but like what? Yeah, this is incorrect in fact, that's crazy. Or rook b8. Rook b8. Threatening decisive penetration by queen d8 after avoiding perpetual checks with h2, h3 or h2, h4. Wow, that's wild. Yeah, okay, so this was very complex. I mean, I got it right because what matters is the first move, but still. Then the technique required was above my level, I guess. Queen d1, much better than queen d3, since white can always exchange queens if he wishes to. However, why make the trade when the retention of both heavy pieces can lead to some unpleasant pressure against black's king? Furthermore, if white choose the head first option, so queen first, black could ignore a queen d7 leap to the 7th rank, but a feet first rook d7 leap, that can be ignored. So queen c6, rook d7, rook c7, rook d6, queen move, check, and now, and not rook takes e6. Oh, I didn't even notice that. Queen e4, yeah, and it's repetition. So rook d8, king g7, rook b8, threatening decisive penetration after avoiding the perpetuals. Okay, this was Polugaevsky against Bronstein. Two very strong players. Polugaevsky, Bronstein, bro. These people are crazy strong. Some crazy strong players, dude. Both sides are left with a queen and rook, and there is only one fully open file on the board. It's clear that the solution is all about the d file, and this leaves only one final mystery. Will white play queen d3, taking the file head first, or queen d1, taking the file feet first? One of these has to be chosen, and black will equalize with rook d8. Or black will equalize with rook d8, explaining the rating spread. I'm sure players in the 1400 group will wonder why I made it so easy. However, as mentioned above, there's no doubt in my mind that some player will take the head first option. In fact, this is what I would have done before reading this book, but now I know that the rook forward is stronger. Queen d1, much better than queen d3, since white can always exchange queens if he wishes to. However, why make the trade when the retention of both heavy pieces can... Okay, we already read this. Threatening decisive penetration by queen d8. In the actual game, white played the inferior h4, wow, which allowed black to get back into the game, though Polugaevsky won anyways. For example, h4, queen here, h5. Yeah, because now if you play rook b8, there is rook c8, I guess. So h5, rook c8 anyways, h takes, rook takes, queen takes. And here, if you take with the pawn, I guess there is like queen f7. And if you take with the king, there is queen g8, funnily enough. So queen to e4, threatening perpetuals. G takes f7, queen b1, check, king here, check, king here, check, king here. Here, 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 here. Is this a winning endgame if you take? I guess so. Well, but then that's goated. That's so goated. How did he win this? How can you win something like this? That's insane. That's just insanity. Wow, that's crazy. Poliuesque. Jesus. Against Bronstein. David Jonovich Bronstein. Is this Bronstein name? I didn't know that. So rook b7. Rook c8. Trading rooks would be crazy since white is very threatening while black is out of play. Don't exchange good pieces for bad ones. G5, h3, and the threat of queen d8 gives white a decisive advantage. Will you ever? Okay, we're almost at the end. There are like 3 more puzzles, 5, 6, 7. Let's go. Whoa. Our queen is hanging. What? What the hell? Oh my god. Okay, so 1400, 1800. 3, 3, 1, 3, 3, 1. Materials equal. We have the bishop pair. So there is an imbalance already. There is a semi-open C file, D file, and E file. So our target can be considered to be D6. So and there is also a5 which is weak but can be defended. So my move is queen d1 here. Our queen is better than their queen. Our bishop is worse than their knight. The minor pieces are kind of the same, I guess. Their knight's quite good. But our rook is like pretty bad on a2. So I will say that my idea is rook queen d1 with the idea rook d2. And if you defend like this, there is also c5 because that's pinned. You cannot take here at the moment. So yeah, my move is queen d1. I'm very tired, I'm just gonna play it. It's correct, here we go. I'm happy. And here again I wanna continue with rook d2. Then this bishop's really dead. Then the bishop's really dead. But what else? What else, yeah? Perhaps rook to rook d3. Perhaps rook to rook d3 is the better conformation of pieces. I don't know, that's so tough. That's so tough. With the idea that we can go here. That actually makes tremendous sense. Oh, that makes tremendous sense. So rook here, can you imagine if rook here is the move? Yeah, because we want to go rook here to allow this. But if we go rook here, they take here. So I guess we go rook here first. No? Am I crazy? Everybody thinks I'm crazy. Maybe I'm a little bit crazy, am I? I mean, rook here. They just defend. Like, just defend. Brother, you know what I mean? Like, So I guess I'm gonna go rook e2 for real. It's gonna be wrong, guys, because that's too artificial. But I believe that, yeah, of course it was rook d2, like, obviously. But I had to do it. My head hurts a little bit. Okay. Well, now we can go here if they defend like that. I don't know why they would defend like that, but now we can go there. Okay. Sometimes it's good to just, move past. Queen d1, this makes good sense, and if you found this move, then I can assume that the Alekhine gun looked at in part 3 rooks made an impression on you. The idea is simple, to live with the rooks as white triples against d6. They want a triple, but there's bishop d6. What? Embracing poor passivity, which isn't very wise, rook e to d3, and white is in control of the position, and in control of his opponent's state of mind. I don't think he's writing this as a joke. I think this is like some psychology. The rest featured more passive play by black, which led to just the result one would expect. Carlsen against Stabberud. Interesting. So knight f3, knight f6, c4, d4, knight c3, g3, h3, h6, e4. So we are transposing back into some sort of King's Indian, passing through the English and the Catalan, because why not, I guess. Okay. Sacrificing an exchange, but there will be problems on the light square, on the dark squares, I guess. Rook a2. Takes, knight here. Here we go. White was playing 10 simultaneous blindfold games. What? I mean, he's Carlsen after all. White, who was playing 10 simultaneous blindfold games, has 2 bishops. They aren't very active at the moment. Bro, 10 simultaneous blindfold games? And the superior pawn structure, d6 in particular, is begging to be attacked. Black would love to defend d6 and get his knight to c5, where it hits e4 and b3, tying down various white pieces in the process. Of course, white also has to address the threat of his queen. Where should it go? Explaining the rating spread. Who doesn't like Aliekin's gun? I have absolutely no doubt that players of all levels who are familiar with this setup will rush to make it happen. Yeah, my construction was just weird. Queen d1, this makes sense, good sense. Okay, we already read this. So queen c7, rook d2, rook d to e8. Embracing pure passivity. Far better is rook e6, intending to swing the knight to his ideal home on c5. Followed by rook b to e8, creating maximum heat against e4. White can't allow that to happen, so an interesting battle would ensue, where both sides will be fighting hard to get their way. f4, which is a move I consider, but I'm like, nah. Of course it wasn't the puzzle, but in general I considered. Rook b to e8. If you play knight d7, there is e5 here, and if you take with the pawn, you lose the knight. Is a whole other kettle of fish. Knight f8, rook takes, and is GG. So rook b to e8, now bishop to f2. Yo, you need parentheses and shit, bro. You need parentheses. What the fuck is this? Rook b to e8, okay. Bishop d5 instead, rook e to e8. Rook here, d takes. I'm too tired to understand anything here. Is also interesting. Rook takes, e takes, queen b6, bishop here, bishop d4. Can't you just move the rook and defend the bishop at the same time? Am I insane? Like, can't you play rook e2 or something? Boo. I don't know. What? What the hell? Here we go. On rook e2, takes, rook here, bishop here, takes, king here. Knight d7 and black's knight find the c5 square, although still leaves white with an edge. Okay, but thanks for the explanation. Queen d2, queen takes d6. On bishop takes e3, bishop takes e3 is just good for white. So queen takes d6, bishop d5, queen f6, rook here, takes, knight d7, and black will once again make it to c5. These are some absolutely ridiculous lines. Bishop f8 is still better. More the step. Sorry guys, but I'm not understanding anything. Like, no, sorry, but this is a big criticism I have for Chessable, which is like there are so many lines and there is no indentation. Like, you can't allow no indentation. Like, this is crazy. I know this is a rare case, plus I'm very tired, so perhaps in most cases when I'm rested, like, I have no problems, but this is crazy. Like, no indentation is just crazy. It makes you the reading experience so much harder. It's just crazy. Like, all you have to do is do a parenthesis. It's that simple. That's insane. So rook e to d8. Pure passivity, rook e to d3, and white is in control of the position and in control of his possible opponent's state of mind. The rest feature most passive play by black, which led to just the result one would expect. Knight e8, rook here, b6, rook to d3, bishop here, e5. Now if you take, you lose the rook. bishop e7, takes, bishop d2, king h7, and bishop f4. Okay, so eventually they reached this. They reached this conformation anyways. This was all blindfolded while playing other 9 players. That's crazy. That's crazy. Manu's crazy. Test 6. Let's solve. This is 8 moves of puzzle, dude. What the bro? Bro, what the hell? So, material is not equal. Material is not equal, believe it or not. Material is not equal. It usually is equal material here. You know, we live in a material world. Material. Alright. Anyways. So this is crazy position. Like, this is insane crazy position I've ever seen ever. What the fuck is going on? Black has 2 pass. So we are up an exchange for a bishop. They have 2 protected pass. Well, they have 2 pass pawns on the queen side. We have non-pass pawns. We have much more active rooks. But again, that pawn's dangerous. So what can we do? There are 2 candidate moves that I'm considering. Rook to a1 and rook either to c8 or to d8. And the idea would be to basically like take all of their pieces. The problem is if we play rook c8, b3, rook d8, b2, check, king goes to h7, check, that's mate. So after we double the rooks and they play b2, check, they have to go to g7, check, they have to go to h3. Check on g4. No, actually check on f5. If they take... yeah, no, that's not good. So, takes... check... oh, knight g4 perhaps. Or just knight g4 immediately here. It's over. Because I'm thinking like... these, and here how to mate, and I'm thinking knight here perhaps, right? Just knight here. They promote, but I don't care, I just move here. And I'm checking them. But they have these. Yeah, but then I have these, and I keep my advantage, I guess. But there is also this move, but it's not so simple, because this move is complicated. They can go here. If I take this, then here. After this, they actually can go here. I don't know, it's difficult. Oh, they can just take, maybe? And then go here, but then I take here. So rook here also looks decent, quite frankly, but I'm just gonna try to go for this and see what happens. Okay. Now I guess I take. Now check here. Check here. I don't know, I'm very confused. There is also check here immediately. They take. Check. They have to go here. Oh wait, he's forced mate. Check here, check. Now if they go here, check. They go here or here is mate. So check here, check. They go here, check. They try to escape. Because they try to escape via this square here. Check. They go here. And they escape. But this looks very promising. Check here. Check here. I mean, he's almost forced mate. How can it not work? I think this works in a way or another. Check here. They escape. So after this check takes check and they go here, I perhaps have to do this or something. And it's like fourth mate. Check, I go here, check, I go here, check here, I go here, and I'm good to go. Check here, I go here. I think I'm fine. Let's see. So I said this, let's try. It's incorrect. Okay, it's check there. It's so boring. How is that good, bro? And now it's just h4, I guess. Yeah. And now perhaps just this, even. Because if I go here, I can get hit by this. Yeah, but this is pure tactics, you know. It's not like a puzzle. But okay. Okay, now if I go here, 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 I guess there's not much. But I can go here. I can go here and there's an unstoppable mate. Incorrect. Oh, just taking. Okay. Okay, just taking. Now I can take like this, threatening mate here. And if they go here, I check them and I mate them. I could also just take here. I'm just gonna take with the rook. It's correct. Okay. This is just forced mate that you have to calculate. I don't know why. It's just, this is outside the scope, but okay. A 7th rank attack gets the job done, not a surprise, but it turns out that an attack along the 8th rank is completely lethal, since the combined might of white's rooks, the e6 pawn, and the knight will bury black's king. b3, h4, there were many other ways to win. Oh, thank you very much, so some of my moves perhaps were okay. Taban house not only finds the best move, but also the most exciting. b1 queen, f5, and that's it. Black had no reason to see rook takes g5, rook takes f2, queen check, when knight g4 will mate in a few moves. You can also just take the rook, right? There is a knight, it's not stalemate. Okay. Okay. Dubious analysis there, but okay. Tabenhaus Jane against Schiffer's Emanuel Stepanovic. Okay. White is winning, though black's passed b-pawn might seem a bit scary. In fact, black is placing all his hopes on that pawn. White could switch to defend mode with rook a1. Instead of allowing black to lengthen the game and perhaps get lucky, why not make full use of your pair of rooks? After all, they are both blacks with open files, and it must be admitted that most of black's army is far away from his king. Explaining the rating spread. This isn't easy because a lot of players will panic in the face of black's rapidly advancing b-pawn. A 7th rank attack gets the job done, not a surprise. But it turns out that an attack along the 8th rank is completely lethal. Okay, we already read this. Rook a1, let's see, rook takes, knight here, knight c4. What about taking the pawn? On f4, this. Yeah, but what about taking the pawn? I don't know. a5, f4, b3. What is this? Lines like these are of course good for white, but hardly immediately game ending. Black will continue to twitch and beg for quite a while, and as we all know, a wounded animal opponent is always dangerous. Rook d8 amounts to the same thing as rook c8, also crashing is rook c7, b3 e6. b2, e7, bishop takes e7, rook takes e7, rook a1, check, king g7, rook b8, knight there, rook takes b2, wow. Rook takes d1, of course if you take the rook you lose the other rook, so takes, and white wins. But not rook d7 on any random move, since after b3, e6, the pawn advance b2 comes with tempo, okay. But okay, let's go back to the actual thing, rook c8, b3, rook b2, b8, after, okay, b3, also places this, b3, e6, king f6, takes, b2, takes, check, rook h7, king f4, rook f7, okay, analysis. I'm not really a big fan of this analysis, guys. This is something lately I keep saying, but I don't really like the analysis, like analysis, completely outside of the scope. There are some analyses that I love tremendously, but like lines after lines, like I don't really see the point. There were many other ways to win, but okay, there is this more exciting one, which again, exciting is subjective, but okay. Rook takes f2, doesn't help, king takes, queen check, king here, queen b1, king g2, check, king h3, and black will be mated in several moves. So this position here is the same, but here, oh no, it reaches h3, okay. You can't reach h3 from here. And if you go here immediately you get checked, okay, it's good. E takes, g5, rook takes, black had no reason to see, and so he resigned. Okay, which again, you can just take the queen, but whatever. So, let's go now to the last puzzle. Level 1400, 1800. White is 2 pawns down. Is he doomed? Hey chat. Is he doomed? Well, I don't think so. Because he's playing without a piece. So I think we're good. The answer is no. White is not doomed because his rook's so active that he's fine. And this rook is forced to control e6. I think it's fine. Sorry, that's not how it's done. How do I go back? Read mode, exit. How do I go back? Here we go. Sorry, because you can't see correctly. Although black is 2 pawns ahead, he has no chance of winning this game because of the bind created by white's 8th rank rook and powerful knight. Black's king and bishop are immobilized and his rook is stuck on its 3rd rank in an effort to prevent knight e6, exactly. Which will win the enemy bishop, the game should be drawn, explaining the rating spread. 2 extra pawns sounds like a lot, but you also have to take the activity of white's pieces into account. I have faith that the 1400 players who are reading this book will realize that winning just isn't in the cards for black. Rook a6, for example, king to g2, rook takes a4. Apparently the mighty Portela, this is Capablanca Portela, isn't interested in drawing with his legendary opponent. It turns out that he had, earlier that year, already drawn a game against Capablanca in a simultaneous exhibition. He played Capablanca again a short time after that. 3 games at 20 moves per hour. 3 games at 20 moves per hour. Wow! That's how chess should be played. Time to think. And though Portela lost the first 2, in one he was doing fine but botched it, he seemed to have decided that only a win would do. One can imagine that at this point Portela might have thought that he was the superior player and was just unlucky. Thus he decided to go all out for victory, so he can end his series of games against Capablanca with some dignity. Knight e6. The knight takes the first step of what turns out to be a memorable rampage. Believe it or not, it's about to devour the f8 bishop and the pawns on g6, f4, h5 and g7. King f7, knight takes f8, king e7, tempting fate. Rook a2 check would have drawn. Okay. Because, yeah, you either give checks forever or pick up, like, the f3 pawn or something. So king e7, rook a8, a5. Playing for the loss and ultimately getting his wish. Rook a2 check had to be tried. Check. Rook f8. Check. Takes. King g3. Rook c4. Takes. a4, h5, h3. a2. Rook here. No dignity for poor Portela. Okay, I don't know why he went on to blast him like that, but okay. And here we go. Continue. Congratulations. Hard work pays off. You finish learning the chapter. This is huge, obviously. Okay, chapters. How much time did I spend here? 1 hour and 10 minutes. Wow. Okay, guys. So what to say? We went through part 3, rooks, files, ranks, and targets. In the next episode, which is going to be how to reassess your chess part 13. Am I crazy? Let me check. Yes, part 13. We are going to take a look at part 4, material, fear of giving up or taking material. So it's nice because, first of all, I'm noticing while I read this tremendous improvement, first of all, but also, so I'm very happy, but also material, fear of giving up or taking material, overcoming the trap of I can't and I must, macho chess, the art of insistence, various state of chess consciousness, target consciousness, like these things are all like, in a way, psychological things, in a way, right? And, but not psychological, like, oh, you gotta stay motivated. No. Like, cognitive bias and stuff that we all have. Problems, like, illogical things in our thinking process in chess, right? We don't, like, we are humans, we don't think logical chess, we think human emotional, right? And so this is about helping us when it comes to chess to think logical chess. You know what I mean? I think, because I haven't read it, so I think. And I can't wait to go into that in the next episode of How to Reassess Your Chess. But for the time being, this is all. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy your chess.